A very pleasant good afternoon or good morning to the entire audience. I'm pleased to join you all virtually for the 8th CIO Innovative Awards and Symposium 2023. Myself, Madan, I'm representing Freshworks, and I'm here to share some ideas on how to spend less and get more of with the ITSM in 2023. So that being the topic, I'll take a moment to quickly introduce myself. So as I said earlier, I'm representing Freshworks, and I've been with the company for close to 4 to 5 years. And I've been an ITSM consultant for enterprise and mid-market organizations. I'll take a moment to quickly introduce Freshworks in a brief. So as a company, we started back in 2010, and currently we are growing at a rate of 37% year on year. And we have reached an annual recurring revenue of 495 million currently, with more than 60,000 customers with whom we are serving globally. We have an employee base of 5,000 members spread across 13 locations across the globe. And in terms of market recognitions, we are recognized by major peer review sites because we always take customer reviews and feedbacks very seriously. And we are also being recognized as a leader and challenger and visionary in Gartner Magic Quadrant, which is something that we are super proud of. Right? And moving on to the session overview, I'll quickly start the session by giving a quick agenda for this session. The first one to be speaking about the key ITSM trends for 2023. I'll also be speaking about tech spending in 2023, and I'll also be sharing some tips on how ITSM spending could be for the leaders in this year. And I'll also correlate how these points are tied back to our ITSM tool Freshservice. And I'll also be sharing some success stories from the customers who adapted to our Freshservice platform. Right. So to get started in terms of IT service management for 2023, the key trends. The first one to be employee-centric IT. To meet the customer expectations of today's workforce, a shift is required on the approach that we should take for improving the employee experience strategies. We know for a fact that the customer experience remains as a North Star. So taking a page of reference from the well-tried and tested customer experience strategies would be our first step towards building a future-proof ITSM process. The next important trend would be optimizing the asset management. 2023 as a year is going to be a year where we'll bring back our control towards hardware asset management. We know that when pandemic started, a lot of organizations fast-tracked letting go of assets, and they had very minimal control on how the assets has been utilized across various employees. In order to gain control on these assets, the process of involving a proper life cycle asset management would help the organizations have a complete visibility of hardware asset management. And in turn, the organizations can also monitor the entire life cycle right from the moment the requests are being raised for the assets, how the assets are being processed and tracked and correlated to the employees, and how the assets are retired. Right. So the entire asset optimization is going to be the trend for 2023. The other important trend would be in terms of intelligent automation. When we speak of automation, the automation of workflows and processes are definitely going to improve reliability and credibility within the organization. Right? Cost optimization for organizations can be brought in by automating mundane tasks, instead deploying human agents do these tasks, where the organizations can allocate these human agents for high value productive tasks. And the last important trend for 2023 would be ESM, Enterprise Service Management. Enterprise Service Management as a whole is going to benefit a lot of organizations and all the bucket groups of organizations, right from the employee who will get a unified service desk for a central support, and also the IT teams and non-business IT teams to coexist in the same system and collaborate extensively. And also for the organizations to have a holistic view of critical enterprise level service delivery metrics, and also manage and optimize spending within one vendor for the entire service desk operations. So these are some of the key trends that I would wanted to share for 2023. Moving on towards the tech state of spending in 2023, where I'll be speaking about how the tech spending is going to look like for this year. The first one being the boosting the customer value. So unlike 2023, unlike 2020, where we had a lot of pandemic, which induced uncertainty in business and also customer behavior, IT leaders are primarily looking at prioritizing investments for normalizing and augmenting data disparate systems across various customer sources, right? And in terms of reducing the operational cost, there has been a lot of spending that was happening in the pandemic, where a lot of assets have been introduced into the tech stack, a lot of softwares have been introduced into the organizations. So the IT leaders should relook at optimizing this spending in terms of operational cost. And when we speak about the productivity, which is going to be increasing, we see a trend that there is a lot of layoff happening in tech companies and freezing of high-profile job hires. So IT leaders prefer that 52% of budget is still, 52% of IT leaders prefer that the budgets are still being allocated for employee experience tools to retain the existing talent, which in turn means that the internal employee experience is going to impact overall business outcome and add value to organizations. The last point towards how the spending should be for this year is primarily in terms of prioritizing our security aspects. Though we see a lot of security breaches and cyber attacks happening in the recent times, organizations are looking at strengthening their current infrastructure that are primarily customer facing and revenue generating workloads. So these are primary factors which are going to drive tech spend for this year in general. So just moving on towards how tech spend in terms of ITSM spending should be for 2023. I'll highlight 5 key points, which is going to be important for evaluating or making a decision towards ITSM. Before we get into those 5 points, I'm going to take a moment to throw us statistics from Gartner, which says 90% of organizations will invest in an ITSM tool, first factoring into their maturity. As a result, fail to obtain the ROI, which clearly states that a lot of organizations currently are overspending on tools without even knowing that if they would need that proper tool for their internal operations. Right? So keeping this in mind, I'm just going to highlight 5 important tips to plan your ITSM budget for 2023. The first one being cut spending on bloated softwares. As we are in the beginning of the year, we should take this time to renegotiate on the prices, our existing contracts, and consolidate the terms with our vendors. We should also look at a pricing model where we have consumption-based pricing applicable for all the ITSM usage. The next step would be basically experimenting with intelligent agents. There are softwares in the market that can make decisions, perform services based on environment and inputs and experiences, often referred to as chatbots or probably digital co-workers. So we should rely or evaluate tools which are primarily towards working on this line of areas. And the next point in terms of tip would be not pulling down on the employee experience. One possible upside that we have recently seen because of the economic slowdown is the cool down of the white hot talent market, right? Though there is a job hopping across the digital talent, the current employee workforce is looking at a tech stack which is going to help them be in the organization, do their justice to the job that they're currently doing, and also along with salary benefits that they are expecting, the technology adoption that the employee workforce is looking for is a key aspect in the current trend, right? So which correlates to the fact that internal employee satisfaction is very important. So not pulling down on the employee experience is another important aspect while we are considering our ITSM budget. The fourth step towards the planning for the ITSM budget is basically leveraging on the automation in place. Basically, we know for a fact that automation is reached to a place that automation can automate itself, where the AI engines are in a position to write codes for itself. Though the self-service low-code, no-code platforms rely as a backbone for these kind of developments, we should always look out for platforms that has automations built into it. The last important factor for planning for ITSM budget is basically looking for softwares that are primarily transparent in pricing, which means that you don't require a developer to sit and configure the platform, or you don't have to depend on a vendor for making configuration changes on your own, which will eventually bring down your total cost of ownership and thus improving the overall experience for ITSM. These are the 5 tips that I wanted to highlight while you're planning for the ITSM budget. Now, I'll just take a minute to introduce Freshservice, how Freshservice is aligned towards these 5 pillars. We call Freshservice as a right-sized ITSM solution based on the 4 pillars. 4 pillars basically, 1 being an intuitive tool, 2 being an extensively scalable platform, and an intelligent automated solution that is leveraged on AI and bots built into it. And as a platform, it can bring in faster time to value. Right? We call it as an intuitive tool because this platform is built keeping the end users in mind, and this platform is scalable right for the small companies until enterprise-ready customers. And also, we have our patented version of bots built into it that can take care of automations, not only for end users, but also for assisting the agents at the backend. When it comes to faster time to value, the biggest USP of the product is that the product requires minimal code, minimal efforts for implementation, which brings in faster time to value and quicker implementation times. So that brings to the end of the session, while I'll also take a moment to quickly share one of the case study of the customer who've seen success by adopting to our platform. Basically, ChargeBee is one of the subscription billing platform who adopted to Freshservice, primarily for streamlining their DevOps operations. And they have seen a lot of improvements in terms of streamlining their PCI compliance operations. Another important reason why ChargeBee had to consider Freshservice is because the integration that we had with AWS, on which most of the ChargeBee services were running. Though ChargeBee started basically with DevOps operations, now they are collectively using Freshservice as an enterprise service management tool, right from employee onboarding until facilities or HR operations management and a lot more. So that brings me to the end of this session, and I'll just take a pause here to hear from you in terms of your thoughts. If you would want us to get in touch with you and discuss more on the ideas that we brainstormed in this session. So the poll is up to you. Thank you.